What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, where I'll be live streaming and doing play-by-play live reactions to college basketball games throughout the regular season, all the way into the conference tournaments, and of course, all the way into the March Madness tournament. We got a good game for you guys tonight. Pac-12 action between the Washington State Cougars and the Oregon Ducks playing at home tonight at this one in the Matthew Knight Arena in Eugene, Oregon. Oregon with a record of 11-8 overall, 2-4 in Pac-12 play currently, and they're 8-4 at home on the season. They've lost the last two games in a row. Washington State coming into this game winning 8-11 record, 1-5 in Pac-12 play. The only win that they have in Pac-12 play so far is against the California Golden Bears, and Washington State is yet to win a game on the road, 0-6 coming in for away games this season. They've lost the past two games in their conference here, but let's do some of the introductions of both of the teams. We have around 5 minutes before tip-off, and we'd like to thank all of you for watching this video. Feel free to like my videos and subscribe to my channel as well. I'll be doing live play-by-play and reactions of college basketball games throughout the entire season all the way into the tournament, so feel free to hit that subscribe button below and interact with me in the chat if you catch this chat if you wish. As well, I did a stream earlier today as it was the Purdue Boilermakers who beat the Michigan State Spartans in that one, as Purdue ran away with it, but Michigan State slowly crept back, but Purdue was able to maintain that lead throughout, and they got the W in that one. But this one, the Oregon Ducks and the Washington State Cougars. I'll start with the home team, the Oregon Ducks, coming in as they've won its past 13 out of 15 meetings against the Washington State Cougars in the series. The all-time series, this is the 295th meeting between Oregon and Washington State. Oregon leads the series currently 169 to 125. 6 of Oregon's 8 losses so far in the season have come by less than 10 points. And that includes one of them was a heartbreaking loss a couple weeks ago. It was at home on a Thursday night versus UCLA. Oregon, they were up by 9 with a minute left, and then they lost in overtime. They were up with, I think, like around a little bit over 2 seconds remaining, up 80 to 77, where they committed a foul, which allowed UCLA to go to the free throw line, and UCLA hit the first one, and then they had to purposely miss the second one, and then Oregon forgot to box out. UCLA got the offensive rebound. Chris Smith put it off the backboard up and in, which took that game into overtime, and then UCLA won that one. So the last win that the Oregon Ducks has had came at the hands winning on the road against the Arizona Wildcats in Tucson. They shocked Arizona on the road in that game, so that's the last win. And then Oregon has dropped the past two games. Last Saturday, they lost in the desert in Tempe against Arizona State, and then they lost at home again against the Washington Huskies, which is the top team right now in the Pac-12. As we look to a key player for tonight, that could be the point guard, junior point guard Peyton Pritchard for Oregon. He just needs 3 more assists to become the 6th Oregon Duck all-time to have 1,000 career points and also 400 assists in his career here at Oregon. One of the things about Pritchard that he does well is hit shots from the free throw line, and he's 7th right now in all college basketball with that stat, as he shoots the ball fairly well from that free throw line. He's 91.5% from the charity stripe this season. As we look to a couple of other Oregon Ducks players, senior Ihab Amin. He's one of 2 active Division I players out there right now with over 1,000 career points and over 500 career rebounds. Add that with over 200 career assists and 200 career steals, as well as his time being an Oregon Duck. Amin is 2nd in the Pac-12 currently, averaging 1.8 steals per game. And another key player tonight for the Oregon Ducks would be freshman forward Lewis King. He's come on strong the past few weeks in conference play. He ranks 6th in points per game right now in the Pac-12 conference games. He averages around 17.2 points per game in conference play for Lewis King and 7.3 rebounds per game in conference play as well. That ranks 7th in the conference, as Lewis King has scored double-figure points in all of his 6 Pac-12 games. And he also had 2 double-doubles already in conference play against Oregon State and UCLA. We'll look to the Washington State Cougars coming here as the road team, 8-11 overall, 1-5 in Pac-12 play. Haven't won an away game so far this season. They're 8-2 at home, but 0-6 away so far in the season. Then they lost 3 games at a neutral site as well, coming on a 2-game losing streak for the Cougars. Washington State, they're looking for their first win ever inside the Matthew Knight Arena. They haven't won in Eugene since January 17th, 2009, where they pulled off the 12-point victory, 74-62. And that one, that was in the former MacArthur Court in Eugene before they built Matthew Knight Arena. Washington State, they ended non-conference play with a 7-6 record, 7-1 at home in games against non-conference play, but then come to conference and they're 1-5 so far in Pac-12 play. They lost the first 2 Pac-12 games and on the road, and then they beat Cal 82-59. That was back on Thursday, January 17th. That was the last win that the Washington State Cougars has had 10 days ago against Cal. As one of the factors for Washington State losing is their health. They just cannot seem to get lucky with his team being healthy throughout the season. Leading scorer Robert Franks, he averages 21.4 points per game. He also has 7.8 rebounds per game on average, which leads the Washington State Cougars, but he's missed 5 games this season. If he had those numbers right now, he'd be in the top of the conference for points per game for average, near the very, very top, but he's missed too many games that it doesn't count towards him, as there's been injuries all over the board for Washington State. Deontay Daniels, he's missed 4 games as well. Isaiah Wade has missed 3 games for the Cougars. And every game that Franks has missed, Washington State has suffered dearly from it this season. The 5 games that Franks has missed, it's resulted in all 5 losses for the Cougars. As Franks, he was the Pac-12 Most Improved Player of the Year back in 2018. Another key player tonight to look out for Washington State, that could be freshman CJ Ellaby. He also averages just above 16 points per game. That's 7th best in the Pac-12. All of the 8 wins this season, Washington State has scored at least 80 points in all those 8 wins this season. As we're about a couple minutes away here from tip-off, as we're on standby here with a stream. Let's see what else we can talk about with the strength of schedule for both of these teams. The Oregon Ducks rank 50th in the nation right now in their strength of schedule. Their net ranking is 71st overall. They look like they're NIT bound at the moment, but if they win tonight and then they win a bunch of more conference games, they can put themselves back into the bubble contention for this Oregon Ducks team. Their best win came against Syracuse, who was previously ranked inside the top 25 as number 15 early on in non-conference play. So their best win was against the Syracuse Orange. They beat them early in the season, 80-65. Oregon, in their last couple of games, it was that heartbreaker. They lost at home to UCLA, and then USC, they beat them by 21. Looked like they were about to reach the turning point as they beat Arizona on the road at Tucson 59-54 last Thursday, and then they've dropped the last 2 games after we thought they'd have that turning point to Arizona. They lost to Arizona State and then lost to Washington by 5 this Thursday. This Pac-12 right now is just up for grabs entirely. No ranked team inside the Pac-12 in the top 25 currently at the moment. Washington looks like it's pulling away with the Pac-12. They're 0-3 against the AP top 25, the Washington Huskies, but they're 7-0 overall inside the conference, 16-4 overall with their record this season. And as Washington looks like the team that's running away, and then USC has solidified themselves with Utah in second right now. Both of those teams are 5-2 in the conference. Arizona started out strong They were 5-1 at one point in the conference. They lost that game to Oregon, and now they're 5-3 in the conference, 14-7 overall. Oregon towards the bottom half with Washington State currently 2-4 in the conference for Oregon. Washington State's 1-5. The only team with a worse record in the conference than Washington State is California. They're winless in conference play right now, 0-8, 5-15 overall. As we're almost about to get started here at Eugene, a couple minutes away before tip-off. We'll go over the visitors, the Washington State Cougars here, as we're almost ready to go for tip-off. Washington State with a strength of schedule 236th out of 353 teams for that strength of schedule. Their net rank all the way back to 205. As Oregon, that game against Washington, Oregon on Thursday led by 12 points in the second half, and then they dropped that game to the Huskies. As we're ready for tip-off here. The ref's got the ball in his hand, red and white jerseys today for Washington State. Oregon in the white and green, and the tip-off gets controlled by the Cougars. To start off the game, and the ball goes past the timeline to the right side with it. Deontay Daniels hands it off, and now there's passing around the perimeter, top of the key for number 23, looking for somebody. That's Ahmed Ali. Looking for someone, finally finds Daniels out there for Washington State. Ball into the hands of Ellaby. Ellaby trying to drive inside. Looks like Oregon gets called with a foul with 19:35 left in the first. So early foul by the Ducks. And Washington State will get the inbounds pass as they throw it back out to Ellaby. Feeds the ball inside of Franks. And when he's healthy, he can be a menace. And inside off the glass, and there's two to start it off for the Cougars. And this one up 2-0. Oregon with the ball past the timeline. It's Richardson who has the ball and passing around the perimeter. Paul White and back to Richardson. Left side of the perimeter. Free throw line extended. Richardson looking for somebody. Feeds the ball inside to Okoro. Okoro working inside. Spin move off the paint. Too hard off the glass and rebounded by the Cougars. 2-0 Washington State. 19 minutes left in the first. As Franks hands it off. Shoots the ball outside. Ellaby, right wing three. Swoosh on that one for CJ Ellaby from the outside. 5-0. Washington State up early in this one. Oregon with the ball. Passing around the right side of the perimeter now. It's Will Richardson. Back to Peyton Pritchard in there. And back to Richardson. Okoro now has it. Hands it off to Richardson. Top of the key for Richardson. Feeds the ball down low to Okoro. Backing his way in there in the low post. Kicks it back outside. 2. And that one outside. Shot goes down. Lewis King. 3 ball goes down for Oregon. It's 5-3. 18-15 left in the first. Washington State gets it past the timeline. Deontay Daniels hands it off to Ellaby in the right corner. And now they kick it back outside towards the top of the key. And this is Ahmed Ali. And it goes back to Ellaby. Feeds the ball out to Franks with it. And then he hands it off and passing around the perimeter right now with the ball. This is Jeff Pollard. Throws the ball top of the key 3, but a foul called on the pick play by Washington State, and they'll turn it back over to Oregon. So Washington State up 5-3 with 17:51 left to go in the first. Oregon will get the inbounds pass. Past the timeline for the Ducks now. It's Peyton Pritchard who has the ball in his hands, feeds the ball off, jumper, and right there from the top of the free throw line for the deep 2, and he gets it to hit for Oregon as it's tied up at 5. Washington State now with the ball past the timeline. It's in the hands of Franks who throws the ball off, and it goes back to Franks as he's passing it along to Ali. And Ali goes to Daniels as now Franks has it trying to go inside. Franks step back inside. No good. Franks gets called with a push-off. And the ball gets turned over back to the Ducks. 17-15 left in the first. 2 turnovers by Washington State so far. Oregon clean, no turnovers. Ball's into the hands of Pritchard. Feeds it off to Paul White. Paul White, 3 ball from the right wing outside, and he hits it. 8-5. Ducks in the lead now with 16:55 left to go in the first. The ball goes past the timeline. Deontay Daniels with it for Washington State. Throws it off to Ahmed Ali, top of the key. Left wing now with the ball. Robert Franks passing around the perimeter. And, they almost turned it over, but Washington State has it at the free throw line. Feeds it inside, and the bucket goes for Jeff Pollard. So CJ Ellaby at the free throw line threw that one in there on the bounce pass. And the bucket went down for Washington State. 8-7 Oregon. Try to drive. A left-handed layup. It goes down. Will Richardson gets that one to fall off the glass. 10-7. The ball gets taken past the timeline for Washington State. With the ball now is Ahmed Ali. So he hands it off to Robert Franks. Where's the ball? Franks. Deep jumper. Got it from the left elbow. And that one's good. A deep two. 10-9. Both of these teams shooting the ball fairly well so far. As we got Peyton Pritchard. He has the ball at the right wing. Feeds the ball out to Richardson. And now to Lewis King. Back to Richardson. Top of the key to Pritchard. Pritchard trying to drive inside between the fenders. Kicks it back out to King outside. Oh, corner, left corner. 3 non-contested. And couldn't go down for Pritchard. Rebounded by Ellaby of Washington State. Right corner. They almost took the 3 by Daniels, but didn't. Trying to drive inside. The kick back to Daniels. Right wing 3. No good. Rimmed out. Rebounded by King of Oregon. Pushing the tempo up the court. 3-ball left wing. Got it to fall. Peyton Pritchard from the outside. And it's 13-9 Oregon. 15-10 left to go in the first. For West Linn, Oregon, Peyton Pritchard, the 6'2 junior. Deep shot outside. What a shot. Outside. Did they count it? Or they took the timeout before. So Ahmed Ali hit a deep 3, but Washington State chose to take the timeout before the three-pointer went down. So erase that. Instead of a 13-12 game, it's 13-9 so far in this one. I'll update you guys in the chat with a score, but Oregon up early here in Eugene. Washington State has 9. Oregon is 13, 15-4 to go in the first. Pretty good game so far by both of the teams. Let's go into the leading scores and see who is leading both of the teams. Lewis King topping out on the Oregon top scores so far in this one. Around 5 minutes into the game so far, Lewis King has 5 points. Paul White and Peyton Pritchard, they both hit 3-pointers as well, so give them 3 so far. Will Richardson has 2 for the Ducks. As we look to the Oregon State point totals early in this one, 4 points by Jeff Pollard, and then looks like Franks has 2, and CJ Ellaby has 3. Still a long way to go in this game. We look to the team stats so far inside the box scores here. Shooting the ball, both of the teams fairly well. Washington State shooting the ball 80% from the field so far, 4 for 5 right now. Oregon is 5 for 7 from the field currently. 71.4 shooting percentage so far. 3-pointers made. Oregon 3 for 4 from the outside, and Washington State's 1 for 2 in this one. Rebounds, not a whole lot of rebounds early in this one as the shots have been falling. Washington State has 2 rebounds. Oregon has 1. All those rebounds coming on the defensive end so far. 3 assists by both of the teams as well in this game. So Washington State with 3, Oregon with 3 turnovers. Washington State has 2. Oregon still clean with 0. Oregon has a foul so far. Washington State doesn't, but we're just getting the feel out for this game early on here at Matthew Knight Arena. Both of the teams coming out red hot scoring in this one, as this is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, and feel free to like my videos, hit that big red subscribe button down below, and spread the word about my channel. We'll look into the coaches here since we're almost getting back ready for action. Dana Altman, head coach of the Oregon Ducks. He's got a record of 221 wins and 91 losses, good for around 71% winning percentage. He's made 5 NCAA tournaments, 2 conference tournament titles, 2 Pac-12 regular season titles and a Final Four as well. That was back in 2017 with Dylan Brooks as Washington State gets the ball here on the inbounds. 14:56 left to go in the first. With the ball now, it's Franks. Dribbling outside, pass, left corner three, Ellaby, and it goes down. The man with the afro hits the three ball from the left corner, and it's 13-12. Oregon up by 1, 14:40 left to go in the first. Oregon passing the ball around the perimeter on the right side behind the three-point line, passes it to the left side. Will Richardson, ball in his hands now. It's Kenny Wooten off the bench. He came back from injury with a neck injury. His first game back from injury was against Arizona. Three ball from the corner, rimmed out, but it's an offensive board by Amin, and he kicks it back outside. The three ball by Paul White couldn't go in. Ball thrown to Wooten inside, and he hits the jumper in the low post for Kenny Wooten, number 14, the sophomore from California. So Kenny Wooten puts Oregon up now 15-12 as Washington State has the ball past the timeline as it's into the hands of Gervais Robinson around that Oregon logo, passes the ball off and back to Robinson left side to Ellaby, throws it cross court to Robinson. Now it's in the hands of Franks at the top of the key, trying to drive low post. Franks gets stripped of the ball, stolen away by Richardson of Oregon. Now with the right wing with the ball, passes it to the top of the key, and it's Pritchard at the left wing with the ball now, and he throws it back to Richardson. Back to Pritchard, left wing, feeds the ball inside, and cannot get the shot to fall in there. Rebounded by Washington State, one-on-one, and Will Richardson strips the ball as C.J. Ellaby almost had a clear basket to lay that up and in if he didn't have a step on him, and Ellaby was able to knock that ball out and out of bounds. So Washington State will get the inbounds pass here as Oregon is up early in this one. We look to the Washington State coach. That is Ernie Kent in his 5th season. He was a former Oregon Ducks coach for the basketball program before he took the job at Washington State. As the last NCAA tournament for Washington State, you have to go all the way back to 2008. They were a 4 seed in the tournament, trying to drive inside, and it's rejected by Wooten, but Washington State gets the offensive possession, and they get the second effort back on the glass, making it 15-14. So that shot goes in for Washington State. Kenny Wooten, 114 career blocks. That's 4th right now in school history for Oregon. Oregon up 15-14, 12:50 left to go in the first. The ball is fed inside to Wooten, trying to back his way in the low post. Kenny Wooten, he couldn't get the shot to fall. Rebounded by Ellaby of Washington State. The ball's passed around the left corner, and now ball goes inside and floated in there to Jeff Pollard, who scores inside the low post, and it's 16-15. The Cougars up by 1 now. 12.5 left to go in the first. Peyton Pritchard with the ball into the hands. Now it's Lewis King who passes it off. Now back to Amin, trying to drive. Pritchard throws the ball to Bailey. Bailey throws the ball back to Pritchard, and Pritchard trying to drive inside. Bounce pass to Kenny Wooten, and he jams at home. Peyton Pritchard with the assist on the bounce pass inside to Kenny Wooten, and he does it himself. 17-16, Oregon up with 12 minutes left. Kenny Wooten has 4 points right now. Washington State with the ball. 11:52 left to go. Gervais Robinson feeds the ball off to Marvin Cannon in the game, and now down in the low post, this is Pollard. And Pollard keeps on continuing to score again as it's been lead change after lead change here. 18-17. Pollard, who averages 4.2 points per game, he has 8 tonight, and we're not even halfway through the first. Oregon with the ball, down by 1. 3-pointer, top of the key, no good by Pritchard. Rebounded by Ellaby for Washington State. Ellaby trying to feed the ball inside, and Pritchard steals it. Peyton Pritchard with numbers 3-on-2, but they kick it back outside. Pritchard now at the top of the key with the ball for Oregon. Trying to call a play. Left corner with the ball. Victor Bailey Jr., no good. Rim short, rebounded by the Cougars. The ball gets taken up past the timeline for Washington State. They're slowing down the tempo. Gervais Robinson with the ball. We got 10:50 left to go in the first. Robinson feeds the ball to Ellaby at the left wing. Ellaby. Bounce pass inside. Guarded by 3 defenders, and they get it up and in. Robert Franks and the foul. So we'll go to the line for 1. CJ Ellaby feeds the ball inside of Robert Franks with 3 defenders. And Washington State now with a 3-point lead. We got a timeout on the floor. I'll update the chat as well. 10:43 left to go in the first. So 20-17 as I update the score here. Been a lot of lead changes so far. Pretty good amount of lead changes in this game. We'll dig into the team stats and see what's going on as we're on this timeout. But yeah, Washington State, when they're healthy, this team could be a problem, definitely. With CJ Ellaby, Pollard tonight has brought it on strong, already doubled his average, and we're not even halfway through the first half yet. 9 for 11 from the field so far for the Washington State Cougars. This is a team to watch out for. When everybody is healthy, CJ Ellaby, Robert Franks, this team plays like a team that's tough to beat out there. 81.8% shooting from the field so far by the Cougars, just putting on a clinic so far from the field. Oregon is 7 for 14 shooting, so that's 50% from the field. 3-point percent as well, 66.7% shooting the 3 balls, 2 for 3 for Washington State, while Oregon's 3 for 7 from the field. That's good for 42.9% so far. And Washington State also out rebounding Oregon early in this one, 7-2 as well. We look to the leading scorers here. CJ Ellaby has 8. Jeff Pollard has 8 as well. So both of those guys leading the scoring so far for Washington State. As we're back to action here, the last play was the laying off the glass was up and in for Robert Franks, and he got fouled as well. So he goes to the line for 1. 76% from the line, and he hits it. 21-17, Washington State with their largest lead of the night in the hands of Peyton Pritchard. Passes it off to King for Oregon. Back to Pritchard as he passes the timeline. 10:35 left to go in the first. Pritchard calling the play with 18 on the shot clock as he feeds the ball off to King and back to Pritchard at the top of the key. And now the ball goes to the left corner with King. Feeds the ball, bounce pass down low to Wooten. Wooten with a one-handed slam inside. He faked out a Cougar defender that he thought he kicked the ball outside. And Kenny Wooten with a one-handed slam. Washington State gets sloppy on the other side of the court, and they turn the ball over as they try to lob it around the right wing. Free throw line extended right there, and the ball just goes out of the hands of a Cougar offensive player, goes out of bounds. So they turn it over. Oregon gets the ball back. 21-19. Washington State with 5 turnovers so far, but 12 points in the paint to show for it. Oregon has not turned the ball over. The ball passed around. Top of the key with Pritchard. Hands the ball off now. This is the Victor Bailey Jr. in the game. Back to Amin and Pritchard at the right wing. Now trying to dribble inside. Pritchard jumper. And he cannot get the friendly roll, but the tip back is good for Amin. Little teammate help right there. Gets that shot to fall for Oregon. Tied up at 21. Washington State needs to get it past the timeline in time. They do. This is now with the ball was Franks and back to Ellaby. Jumper by Ellaby is good at the free throw line, and the shots are falling tonight for Washington State. CJ Ellaby has 10. And we just got past the 10-minute mark here. 9-10 left to go in the first. Ball into the hands of Pritchard. Feeds the ball up right wing. With the ball is Victor Bailey Jr. Now into the hands. Top of the key with it. It's Lewis King. Feeds the ball off to Bailey. Back to King at the top of the key. Trying to go inside. And a jumper by Lewis King. Cannot go down. But the reach-in foul called by Washington State before the shot. First foul as a team today by Washington State with 8:56 left to go in the first. So, the refs call it. The refs did call it Not before the shot, so it was actually in the act of shooting by Lewis King. So he'll go to the line. So he'll shoot 2. From the line is Lewis King. 76.2 free throw percent shooter on the season, and he hits his first to make this a 1-point game. 23-22, the 5-star recruit from Jersey City, New Jersey. Lewis King, the freshman, and he's been coming on strong as a late in conference play. Missed quite a bit of games early on in the season with an injury that he suffered back in high school, but on, I think it was December 8th was his first game that he came and played for the Oregon Ducks, and now he averages around 17 points per game in conference play. He hits them both from the line. Lewis King checks out on the bench. This game is tied up at 23. The ball gets inbounded as it goes to Viante Daniels, and now back into the hands of Washington State with its Franks. Franks trying to dribble past the timeline. He does, and the ball gets thrown outside around the perimeter. 3-ball, and from the left wing, it goes down for the Cougars. Robert Franks from the outside. He has 8, and that's his first 3-pointer of the night. 26-23. We got to go into these stats in a little bit because Washington State has been red hot shooting from the floor in this one. Trying to go the jumper inside the low post, and he scores for Oregon. It's number 13, Paul White, and he gets fouled as well in the play, and he'll go to the line. 26-25. As this ball was thrown inside the low post, Amin with the assist to Paul White, who puts it in off the glass, and he'll go to the line for 1. Paul White, 74.5% free throw shooter in the season, and he hits it. This game is tied up again at 26. 8:18 left to go. The ball goes past the timeline into the hands of Ellaby with it 26 even. Ellaby at the top of the key and now trying to dribble inside, bounce pass inside, fought for. Oregon has the steal. As that ball was thrown into traffic, Oregon takes the ball past the timeline. Miles Norris got the steal there. The ball into the hands of Richardson, passes it off to Amin. Back to Richardson, to Okoro, and now trying to dribble baselines. Pritchard kicks it back outside for Oregon. Now trying to go baseline again. Paul White with a reverse hand layup baseline off the glass and in. 28-26. Oregon back in front after the lead change. 7:37 left to go. Washington State finally takes the ball past the timeline. Almost got the 10-second rule called on them right there as it's into the hands of Ahmed Ali for the Cougars. 11 for 13 from the field so far for Washington State. 7:20 to go in the first. They've been red hot shooting the ball. We'll see what happens here as it's Ali who's trying to drive inside. Jumper in the low post, and he hits it as he floats that ball over the top. We're knotted up at 28. 7:05 left to go in the first. Oregon with the ball. Not a lot of timeout so far, so I haven't been able to update the chat with the score, but a lot of offense for sure. This game's moving by quick in the first half. Will Richardson, top of the key with the ball for Oregon, passes out right side perimeter towards the right corner with it, with the ball, feeds it out, cross court, left corner 3, no, rimmed out by Miles Norris. Offensive board by White. Feeds the ball outside, and the 3-ball gets airballed. White with a rebound and off the glass for Oregon and up and in. Miles Norris gets that one down for the Oregon Ducks. Paul White was the one who shot the air ball from the right corner that missed it. Washington State gets it past the timeline. They have the ball now. It's into the hands of Ali. Passes it off to Ellaby. Right wing outside with Ellaby. He passes it off to Pollard. Pollard's got a good amount of points so far for Washington State. Into the hands of Franks. Back into the hands of Daniels, and he feeds the ball down into the low post. Robert Franks gets the ball, and it goes off the glass and in. Nobody was there to defend Franks. Oregon with the ball, passing around the perimeter. And now it's into the hands of Richardson. Passes it left corner to Bailey. And that ball stolen as he tried to feed the ball inside. Washington State on the fast break and up and in for CJ Ellaby. And he gets it off the glass, and he's fouled as well. So when we get back from the commercial break, CJ Ellaby will be going to the line for his and one as he gets that one to fall off the glass on the fast break. We got a fascinating one here in Oregon. Lots of high-flying octane offense so far in this one. 32-30, Washington State up by 2, 5:41 left to go in the first. So let me update that score. 32-30. Wow, yeah. This game is like in 5-minute increments when we get timeouts. As I'm seeing because the first time I was able to post in there was 15, just right before 15 minutes in this game, and then 10:43 and now 5:41. All right, so let's go into these leading scores for both of these teams. Washington State has 2 guys already in double-digit points, that being Robert Franks. They really need him if they want to win this game, as Franks is definitely a difficult one to defend. He has 10 points so far. CJ Ellaby as well. He has 10 points so far. Both of those guys on the team, 1 and 2 in scoring. Franks, he averages 21.4 points per game, but they won't count it for leading scorers in the nation for the conference because he's missed 5 games so far on the season. But Franks and Ellaby already have 10 points so far by Washington State. When both of those guys are healthy, this team is tough to beat for the Cougars. As we look to the Oregon Ducks, looks like Oregon has a bunch of guys in there with a different amount of points, and Paul White leading the way in scoring right now with 8 points for Oregon, and then Lewis King tacking on 7, 6 points so far, coming off the bench by Kenny Wooten. Looks like Oregon has 10 points coming from their bench. Washington State they've only utilized what is that? Gervais Robinson? Yeah, they've only used him so far this game off the bench, and he has 0. So 10 bench points for Oregon, 0 so far by Washington State, but Washington State red hot from the field. 14 for 16 shooting so far in this one. 87.5% shooting from the field compared to Oregon's 54.5% from the field, 12 for 22 so far for Oregon. As we get back to action here in Eugene, not a lot of fouls either early in this one. Oregon has 3 as a team with 5:41 left to go in the first, and Washington State has 2 as a team, as the last one fell by Ellaby as he got it inside off the glass. He got fouled as well, so he's to the line here. 67% free throw shooter from the line, and he missed it. Rebounded by Oregon with 5:35 left to go in the first. As the ball's in the hands of Richardson, passes it off to Pritchard, back to Richardson at the top of the key, and back to Pritchard. Bounce pass right corner to Paul White, back to Pritchard. White trying to drive baseline, kicks it back, over the head of Will Richardson, and it's a turnover for the Oregon Ducks. As we got 5:20 left to go in the first, as I think that's the first turnover of the game by Oregon. So Washington State will get the inbounds pass. So the Cougars will inbound it. Now with the ball with 5:13 left to go, they pass the timeline into the hands of Ali, dribbling with the ball at the top of the key. Now dribbling to the right side with the ball and back into the hands of Ellaby. Passes it to Ali, and now baseline, deep on the baseline with it's Franks. Franks with a deep jumper from the right elbow, and it goes down. So he hits the shot right there. Robert Franks, he has 12. He's perfect from the floor. 5 for 5. 34-30. Washington State up by 4. Pritchard with the ball at the right elbow. Feeds the ball back outside to Paul White. Left wing 3. No good by Oregon, and rebounded by Washington State. Ellaby feeds the ball off now. This is to Ali. As we got 4:23 left to go with 16 on the shot clock, 34-30. Ellaby at the left wing with the ball, dribbling top of the key now. Ellaby feeds the ball at the free throw line. This is to Franks. Franks, and he gets fouled inside for Robert Franks. So we got 4:10 left to go in the first, 34-30 right now. Washington State up by 4. So that was before the shot, so no shooting foul occurred. So the Cougars will inbound it. Looking for somebody who's open, and they chuck it all the way to the backcourt. So they'll set it up again. 88% shooting from the floor. They're putting on a clinic by Washington State, even though they've turned over the ball way more times than Oregon. That's another turnover. Bounce pass by Ellaby, just too strong off the hands, and Oregon turns the ball over. Trying to get the numbers in transition, and the ball was thrown over the head of Peyton Pritchard, who was wide open in the left corner from behind the arc. Wide open, and a turnover again by the Ducks. We got a timeout on the floor. I'll update you guys in the chat. 3:54 left to go in the first. Fascinating game so far. Washington State shooting 88.2% from the floor. 15 for 17 so far in this one, but we're just getting started. 3:54 left to go in the first. This is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, and feel free to like my videos, share, and subscribe. So yeah, let's go into some of these stats together here. So Oregon shooting 52.2% from the floor. That's good for 12 for 23 shooting. Washington State virtually impossible to miss in this game. 88.2% from the floor, shooting 15 for 17. Washington State as well. Not a lot of rebounds because both of the teams have been sinking in shots left and right. Washington State out rebounding Oregon right now 8-6. Washington State, however, has only 1 offensive rebound compared to Oregon's 4, but the Cougars dominating on the defensive boards, winning that battle 7-2. Assists as well so far. Washington State has 10. Oregon has 6. If we look at the turnovers, that's been a problem for the Cougars and recently for Oregon as well. Oregon was squeaky clean early in this one, not turning over the ball, but now they have 3 turnovers. Washington State's turned the ball over 7 times in this one. We'll look to the box score before the half to see who's up here as we're almost back. 12 points so far, tied for leading scorer. That would be Franks and Ellaby both have 12 points. Ellaby has 5 rebounds as well. And then Oregon, the leading scorer right now, 8 points by Paul White. So we're almost back to action here. Washington State putting on a clinic, shooting the ball in the first half. Perfect from the floor with these guys. Ellaby, Franks, and Pollard. Ellaby and Franks are 5 for 5 from the floor. Pollard is 4 for 4 shooting right now as Washington State inbounds the ball. They have yet to score in the last 6 minutes and 32 seconds in this game. 3:42 left to go as Washington State has the ball in their hands. Ahmed Ali with it at the left side behind the arc. He passes the ball off to Ellaby. Ellaby towards the top of the key. 5 in the shot clock. Deep 3 by Ellaby, and the rim's out. Hit the front rim. No good. So Washington State finally misses a shot from the field. Oregon gets the rebound. 3:18 left to go in the first. 3-ball. Pritchard, no good by Oregon, but it's almost an offensive board, but they'll call Oregon with the foul. Trying to get the rebound. Paul White gets charged with the foul. The 5th foul on Oregon for the game, and the ball will go back to Washington State. 3:14 left to go in the first. Washington State up 34-30. Oregon has yet to score in the past 6 minutes in around 35 seconds or so was their last basket. Washington State shooting the ball at a good 83% right now compared to Oregon shooting the ball at 50% from the field. 20 points in the paint so far by the Cougars as well. as we have a stoppage in time here on the court, and Washington State will get the ball back. So, oh, wow. So, yeah, Oregon picked up the reach-in on that. So, that's their 6th foul as a team now, as Washington State has the ball. Jumper in the low post by Ellaby, and he misses it. So, the last 2 shots, both were made by Ellaby, and both of them misses for the Cougars, as Washington State picks up their 3rd foul as a team. Looks like it's by Aliaz Kunk, who's in the game. He's from Slovenia. He's in the game now for the Cougars. Washington State up 34-30. Both of these teams have not scored in a while. Oregon gets the inbounds pass. We got 2:48 left to go in the first. Peyton Pritchard takes the ball past the logo. The ball in his hands, guarded by Robinson of Washington State. Pritchard back with the ball at the right wing. Bounce passes it back to Lewis King. Pritchard with it again, driving, and deep baseline 2, no good for Oregon. Paul White took that shot, and it rimmed out, rebounded by the Cougars. So Washington State with the ball, backing his way in there towards the top of the key is Gervais Robinson with the ball with 15 left to go on the shot clock. Robinson tried to go inside, and that ball is swatted by Oregon. Going the other way on a fast break, and a block by Ellaby. Tried to save it, and Oregon gets the ball back. So both blocks on both of the ends here, and the shot taken by Oregon rims out. Thank you for joining me in the video, and thanks for the like as well. Yes, that is Gervais Robinson. Oh, I know you as well. Thank you for tuning in. Pretty interesting game so far. So, yay. Yeah. Washington State up by 4. They have yet to score in the past 6 minutes and 32 seconds or so in this game, but Oregon has the ball here. As they pass it around the perimeter, Pritchard feeds the ball at the free throw line, and a jumper by Lewis King. He sinks it. So it's a 34-32 game with 1:40 left to go. Lewis King has 9 points. He's perfect from the field so far, 3 for 3. Washington State now with the ball into the hands of Robinson. Passes the ball off to Franks. Franks averages 21.4 points per game, and Ellaby with the ball in his hands. Both Franks and Ellaby already have double-digit points for the Cougars. Deep 3 from the outside. Left wing 3. It goes down for Robert Franks. Woo! Hit that one from the outside. And it's 37-32. Washington State up by 5. 1:05 left to go. 9-2 run by the Cougars. Pritchard passes the ball off to Amin. Amin with the ball at the left wing. Back to Pritchard. Right wing. Throws the ball to Amin. Amin back to Pritchard. Right wing. Right corner now. Right corner 3. Bounce pass. Good by Pritchard. And the 3 by Will Is it Will Richardson? No, it's Victor Bailey Jr., number 10. Richardson 0. Bailey is 10. It was Bailey Jr. hits the 3. 37-35. Washington State up by 2. Oregon left them open in the low post. Too easy for the shot to go down just off the glass there. Gervais Robinson hits that one home. You got a timeout on the floor. 30.3 left to go in the first. Washington State up in this one, 39-35. We got a timeout on the floor. And this is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, and feel free to like my videos and subscribe down below as well. We got a good game so far. I'll dig into the chat in a little bit here. I'll update you guys with the score as well. Washington State red hot from the floor scoring. They did miss a couple shots from the field the past couple of minutes in this game, but still shooting 77.3% from the field. The timeout here. .3 seconds left to go in the first. And Oregon will inbound the ball. So it will be Amin who will inbound. Pass it to Pritchard with 28 left to go. They're slowing down the tempo a little bit here, trying to get the last play call before they go into the halftime tunnel. Pritchard with the ball in his hands, passes it off to King now with 14 and 13. King trying to back his way outside as it was Daniels for Washington State who gets called with a reach-in foul. That's what forced, with a heavy pressure right there, forced King to back towards the front court corner. The foul called, 11.3 seconds to go in the first half, and they inbounds. So now it's 9 seconds left. Pritchard with the ball with 8. 7-6. Pritchard now with 4, and Washington State gets called with a foul with 4.2 seconds left, so not in the bonus yet. That's still the 6th team foul. 4.2 seconds left on inbound. Pritchard with 3. Pritchard, deep 3 with 2, and no good, and rebounded by Washington State, and that's the half. So the Cougars, with season shooting percentage, shooting on the season 46% from the field, tonight shooting a stellar 77% from the field in the first half, and the Washington State Cougars up at halftime here, 39-35. This first half just flew right by. Usually it takes about an hour or so to get to the halftime. Here we are, 46 minutes into the game, and we're already at the half. Lots of scoring here, not a lot of timeouts. I'll update the score for you guys. We'll go over the box score here at halftime, and we'll look to other games in the league right now, but the Washington State Cougars up 39-35 at halftime. Yeah, pretty interesting game so far, that's for sure. As we'll look to the team stats here first. So Washington State from the field, 17 for 22 shooting. That's good for 77.3% from the field. Oregon shooting 48.3% from the field. That's good for 14 for 29 shooting for the field. Oregon right now, 4 for 14 from behind the arc. Washington State's 4 for 6. That's good for 66.7% from behind the arc, is where at halftime. Oregon perfect on their free throws so far at home, as they're 3 for 3 right now from the charity stripe. Washington State's 1 for 2 with free throws so far. Washington State, not a lot of rebounds so far in this game, as a lot of shots have fallen down. Washington State winning the rebounding category, 11-10 so far to Oregon. Washington State only has 1 offensive rebound compared to Oregon's 5, but it's the defensive rebounds that Washington State's really winning that battle, 10-5 so far in the game here. Also, assists by each team. Washington State already has 12 assists so far in this one compared to Oregon's 8. Oregon has 4 steals as well. The turnover battle, Washington State has turned the ball over 7 times compared to Oregon's 3. As we look to the leading scorers, well, these two are going to be tough to defend, as we knew it, and when they're healthy, they can pose a problem, as Robert Franks already has 15 points at the half for Washington State, doing it with 3 assists as well, 2 rebounds out there. And CJ Ellaby is also second in the team in scoring behind Franks. He has 12 points so far. So both of those guys, Franks and Ellaby, already in double-digit points, and we're at halftime. For Ellaby, his season high, he has 3 double-doubles on the season for CJ Ellaby. His season high is 26 points and 10 rebounds. That was against the rival Washington Huskies earlier in conference play. As we look to Oregon in the leading scoring so far at halftime, nobody with double-digit points so far by the Ducks, but a lot of guys getting close to that. 9 points for the leading scorer right now, Lewis King. He's perfect from the field, 3 for 3 right now. He has a 3-pointer that went down as well. He's got 9 points. Paul White with 8 points from the field for the Ducks. Kenny Wooten coming off the bench for Oregon as 6, so he's 3rd on the team in scoring at the half. I'm going to tally up these bench points. Washington State has 2 bench points with Gervais Robinson. Oregon, coming off the bench, they have, looks like 13 bench points so far by the Ducks. So Oregon winning in that phase for bench points. As we look to the Pac-12, right now we see that both of these teams are towards the bottom of their conference. Still a lot of games left to be played with Dana Altman's crew. As for the Oregon Ducks, they made it all the way to a Final Four back in 2017. That was with Dylan Brooks leading the way in that game. Oregon right now sitting at the bottom of Pac-12 play, 2-4 with that conference record, and 11-8 overall. Washington State as well, towards the bottom of Pac-12 play, but still got a lot of basketball left, and you don't know what can happen come conference tournament time, especially when there's like an unknown bottom of the pack team in a major conference that could possibly do some damage coming into the conference tournament as like a 9 or 10 seed, and they walk away with a tournament. We'll go over some of these top 25 games today. This is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, and I do live play-by-play and reaction to college basketball games throughout the college basketball season all the way into the March Madness tournament. I had a great game earlier today. Purdue beat Michigan State in that one. That was a 1 p.m. game that I streamed this afternoon. The next stream that I'll do will be Tuesday night at 7 p.m. That will be the Texas Longhorns versus the Kansas Jayhawks in that game. I believe that game's at Texas in Austin for that one. And then Wednesday, I have another game that I'm streaming. I believe that is Virginia Tech versus Miami, another 7 p.m. game. And then possibly I'll be doing the Thursday game at 9, the Pac-12 battle, Arizona and Arizona State. As we look to some of the scores that happened today throughout the college basketball world, Florida State won against Miami. That was the last game to finish. Florida State won that game 78-76. So FSU, they got knocked out of the top 25 as they've lost a couple of nail biters in there. They lost against Duke, I think it was 2 Saturdays ago. They were up with 2 seconds remaining. Duke with the inbounds pass. Florida State forgot to cover Cam Reddish, who was wide open for Duke, and drained the 3-ball to win the game at the end for the Blue Devils. So Florida State now improves to 15-5 on the season and 3-4 in ACC play, as they were up 45-28 at the half against the Miami U, and then they come out victorious in that one. As we look to other games today, in Minnesota on the bubble, and they're showing you why they want to be off the bubble and into the projected March Madness bracket. They get a huge win against the number 19 Iowa Hawkeyes today at home for Minnesota. They improved to 15-5 overall in the season, 5-4 in Big Ten play. Iowa falls back to 16-5 overall in the season, 5-5 in Big Ten play. So Iowa, even though they're ranked in the top 25, I think that looks like they're probably going to drop out of the AP top 25 with all the recent Big Ten losses they've got, as they're at 500 right now in the conference. The other Big Ten game earlier, the one that they streamed, was Purdue pulled off the victory against number 6 Michigan State, 73-63 in that one. Other games in the top 25 action, I streamed Houston versus East Carolina back on Wednesday. Houston shot above 50% from the field in that game, and they outmanned East Carolina at all phases of the game that day. They beat Tulsa today 77-65. So Houston just earned their 20th win of the season. I think they're the first team to get to 20 wins this season. So they sit with a record of 20-1 overall, 7-1 in the American. Tulsa, I remember way back when conference play started, they started off the season with a record of 10-3. And now they're 2-6 in the American. They sit at 12-9 overall. The other games today, Villanova just put on a clinic at home against Seton Hall. The second half, Villanova went off. They outscored Seton Hall in that second half 50-32, as Phil Booth dropped 25 points on the game for the Villanova Wildcats in that one. Villanova, 18th ranked in the nation, wins 80-52. Close one against Georgetown and St. John's, but Georgetown pulled away towards the end, hitting the free throws when they needed it the most from the line. Georgetown with a huge win on the road earlier today to St. John's, 89-78 at the Garden. So Georgetown trying to get back into that bubble picture, improves to 13-7 overall, 3-4 in Big East play, while St. John's, they were in the top 25 a couple of weeks ago. Now they dropped to 15-5 overall, 3-5 in Big East play. Huge win at the dunk today for the PC Friars of Providence. They beat DePaul 70-67 in that one, as Alpha Diallo had 20 points and 9 boards for the PC Friars in that game, as Ed Cooley's squad improves to 13-7 overall, 3-4 in Big East play. They need a couple more wins to get themselves back into bubble contention. I believe Providence right now sits around the same rank as Oregon in the net rankings. I think they're right ahead of Oregon, around like number 70 or so in the net rankings. So Providence trying to climb back in to the March Madness bubble pictures. They're just right outside of that. Cincinnati, they keep on winning games. They're also tied in the American right now with Houston. Both of those teams have 7-1 conference records. The only team to beat Houston this season was Temple, but Cincinnati taking care of Temple today, 72-68 in that game. Temple walked out to an early lead, went up at halftime 35-25, but Cincinnati using the 47-33 second half advantage to pull away from Temple and get the 4-point victory. Jerron Cumberland had 25 points and 8 rebounds for the win for the Bearcats. So we look at 2 other games. There was a big battle between the Ocean State and the Bay State today. The University of Rhode Island played against UMass and the Minutemen. Today it looks like UMass took this game at the Mullen Center, 77-70. As Rhode Island falls to 11-8 overall, 4-3 in the Atlantic 10. Definitely a rebuilding year for Rhode Island, as Dan Hurley is now coaching at UConn, and now they have a new head coach in there for Rhode Island. Graduated a lot of players last year, as they were the A10 champs last season. They were in the conference tournament until they lost to Duke in the second round, but UMass improves to 8-12 overall and gets their first A10 victory of the season. As we're still at halftime here with Washington State and Oregon. We'll get back to action in a little bit. One of the teams to look out for would be this team, the Liberty Flames, as they're undefeated right now in Atlantic Sun Conference play, 7-0 in the Atlantic Sun. They're 18-4 right now as they beat Jacksonville today, 69-59. So Liberty at the top of their conference. They're a team to watch out for sure when it comes to March Madness and busting brackets. Another one of those teams could be Murray State with John Morant, as he's taken the league by storm, number 1 in the nation right now in average assists per game, just a little bit above 10 assists per game. I know they lost a couple days ago to Belmont, which I believe both of those teams, Belmont University and Murray State, are both 1-2 currently in the Ohio Valley Conference. But that was mostly because John Morant played that game. Throughout that game, he was hobbled and hurt, but we showed how he could play yesterday when he came back, and they beat Tennessee State in that one. So Murray State could definitely be another one of those teams like Loyola Chicago or so, Elite 8, Sweet 16, that make the Cinderella run like we've seen teams before, definitely with the leadership of John Morant out there with his incredible dunks that he puts on. It could be another one of those shows like Davidson, back when Steph Curry was playing for him, how he took the league by storm, and they were the Cinderella back then. A couple of other Cinderella teams were, well, UMBC last year beating Virginia, the first time a 16 has ever beaten a 1 for sure. That was definitely one of those teams. But we've had Cinderella teams in the past in the tournament. George Mason was one of them. I remember the Vermont Catamounts coming in as a 13 seed, beating Syracuse at the DCU Center. That was insane. That was the early 2000s, that game. Gus Johnson called that one. That was incredible. Vermont iced it up with a 3-ball from the parking lot, basically, in that one. Other games today, let's see if there's any more that I can note. Not really, as that's basically it. Actually, yeah, there's 2 teams in the Atlantic Sun. Okay, wow. So to make note of this, there's 2 teams in the Atlantic Sun Conference that's still undefeated. Liberty 7-0, 18-4 overall. I'm going through the scoreboard here. Also, Lipscomb is 7-0 as well in Atlantic Sun play, and they're 16-4 currently. They beat Stetson today 88-65. So there's still 2 undefeated teams left in that conference, as this is the last game of the night. Washington State and Oregon 39-35 currently right now. Oh yeah, we do have to make note of this. Central Florida looking like they could possibly get a tournament berth, as they are towards the end of the bracket projected in right now, but a huge loss for UCF today. They lost by 20 at Memphis, 77-57. Memphis as well. They're 5-2 in the American, 13-7 overall. As it looks like we're almost back from action here. Washington State and Oregon. 77% shooting from the field, 17 for 22. Converting on for the Cougars, and we're back to action. So Oregon gets the inbounds pass here with 19:55 left to go in the second. At the right corner with it's Lewis King. Passes the ball off to Richardson. And now with the ball is Paul White. Passed off. Right corner 3, Lewis King, and he hits it. 1-point game as Oregon draws closer. 19:36 left to go. Lewis King has 12. Perfect from behind the arc for Lewis King. 2 for 2. This is his 8th game this season that he has more than 10 points. Got ourselves a 1-point game. Washington State with the ball. 19:22 left to go in the second. Into the hands of Ellaby. Now he kicks it back to Ali. And now at the free throw line with the ball is Franks. And back to Ellaby outside. Ellaby rims out as Washington State's first shot from the floor for the second half starts off with a miss. Rebounded by Oregon. Lewis King at the right wing, and now the ball is fed out outside towards the left corner. Dribbling to the top of the key now with the ball, Peyton Pritchard. Hands the ball off, trying to go for the alley-oop was Paul White, who threw the ball to Wooten, but they couldn't get it. Wooten kicks it back outside. The rebound, no good, and fought for and rebounded by Washington State. 18:40 left to go. The Cougars passing the ball around the perimeter. Ellaby passes at right corner 3, and it hits for number 23, Ahmed Ali from the outside. 42-38 Cougars. Ali has 5 points in this game. 18-18 left to go in the second. The ball at the right wing, fed to the free throw line inside to Kenny Wooten. Wooten misses the first shot, tried to get his own offensive board, but Washington State gets the ball. Here come the Cougars. Now with the right elbow inside with the ball is Franks trying to go for the left-handed layup. Too strong off the glass. Rebounded by Oregon. Pritchard takes it past the timeline. 17:50 left to go in the game. Peyton Pritchard towards the top of the key with the ball. Passes it off at the right corner and fed the ball inside of Richardson, who feeds it to Kenny Wooten, who gets the slam, right-handed reverse jam. It goes down. Wooten has 8. 42-40. Washington State up by 2. Deep 3 by number 23. No good by Ali. Rebounded by Oregon. Pritchard passes the ball to the left wing to Lewis King. Takes a couple steps back, sets off the offense. Richardson now to Pritchard at the right side and back to Richardson. Richardson feeds the ball left corner to King. And now at the free throw line to Pritchard. 3-ball from the outside. Sinks it from the right wing as Paul White for Oregon. And the lead change again. White has 11. Oregon is now up 43-42. Washington, they were hot in the first half, cold in the second half so far shooting the ball. Washington State in the low post. This is Pollard. Pollard gets the shot to fall. 43-42. Another lead change with 16 and a half left. Pollard has 10. 44 Washington State, 43 Oregon. Oregon with the ball into the hands of Richardson. Feeds the ball to the right corner to White, and now he's trying to go inside of Wooten. The ball gets slapped away by Washington State, but Oregon will regain possession as Kenny Wooten hits the floor hard there, as he was guarded by two defenders. Ellaby was one of them. The other defender was Pollard for Washington State. It looks like that. Is that Wooten? I cannot. Yeah, it's Wooten. I couldn't see for a second because he was blocked by the official, but he takes a seat on the bench. So Will Richardson, with the ball as Okoro, comes in for Wooten now for Oregon. As Oregon passes the ball, trying to dribble inside, and the lead in there by Richardson. Bounce pass in between two defenders to Okoro. There's a foul call by Washington State. That's the first foul by the Cougars in the second half. As right now, it's Wooten who's on the bench. But Okoro is to the line for the Ducks, and they tie it up at 40 for Francis Okoro, and the Super Tuesday continues. I'll have the stream for you guys live, play-by-play, and reactions with the Texas Longhorns against the Kansas Jayhawks, 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Second shot at the line by Francis Okoro, and it rims out, rebounded by Washington State. Into the hands of Robert Franks. Takes it past the timeline towards the left side. With the ball as he's guarded, passes the ball off to the right. This is Kunk in there as well. Gervais Robinson in the game for Washington State now with the ball in his hands. And now back to Franks. Franks towards the free throw line, and he backs himself out. Back to Gervais Robinson. Feeds the ball off to Ellaby. Ellaby deep two from the elbow, and it rims out. Rebounded by Oregon. Takes it past the timeline for Amin and fed off outside. Left wing three, no good. And rebounded by Washington State. So the missed three ball by Lewis King. And the rebound, deep three, no good by Ellaby. Rebounded by Oregon. Taken past the timeline. 15-15 left to go in the second. Oregon in the hands of Lewis King now with the ball. Tied up at 44. He passes it off left side behind the arc with Ihab Amin. Back to Pritchard, top of the key. Left side to Amin. Back to Pritchard. Pritchard trying to dribble inside. Bounce pass in there at the baseline. Okoro trying to work on inside, and he gets stripped of the ball. It's going the other way to Washington State, who has it into the hands of Gervais Robinson. Takes it past the Oregon logo. Fourth turnover of the game by Oregon. Washington State has 7. Robinson with the ball with 14:40 left, slowing down the tempo. Here's Robinson, passes the ball off to Franks, feeds the ball inside to Ellaby. Ellaby in the low post, spin move, he stripped of the ball. Going the other way for Oregon, one-on-one, fast break jam. Lewis King with a slam. Oregon up by 2, 46-44. Lewis King with 14 points tonight. Washington State trying to go, and they get sloppy with the ball. They turn it over. One-on-one again, Lewis King up and in. Right hand for Lewis King. He has the last 4 points for the Ducks, forcing Washington State to call a timeout, and Oregon now is a 48-44 lead. These Ducks playing well in the second half. Ellaby trying to go inside. The ball gets stripped on the replay by number 5, Miles Norris, and a one-on-one bounce pass to Lewis King, and he takes it off the glass and in for King. As we get a stoppage in time, I'll update the chat here. We got ourselves a ball game. Oregon up by 4, 48-44. For Washington State with 44 points. Oregon with 48. We got 14:05 left to go in this game. As we'll dig into some of these team stats, Washington State in the first half, they shot think 76% from the field or so, around that mark in the first half. Now they're down to 65.5% shooting from the field. They've gone ice cold in the second half shooting. Oregon right now shooting above 50% from the field, 19 for 37, 51.4% shooting from the field for the Ducks. So we look at the rebounds, both of the teams pretty similar right now, both knotted up at 15. But the turnovers have been the issue for Washington State. They have 9 turnovers compared to Oregon's 4, as we saw what happened with that turnover led to the Lewis King lay-in on the other end. As we look to the leading scorers here, the Ducks have 2 guys now in double figures. Didn't take too long for 2 guys in the second half to get to double-digit scoring. That would be Lewis King leading the team with 16 points. 2 for 3 from behind the arc, and Paul White has 11 as well for the Ducks as we're on the commercial break right now. We'll get back to action in a couple minutes here. Washington State has 3 guys in double-digit point figures here, as it looks like it is Robert Franks who's leading the way for Washington State. He has 15 points, and then you got C.J. Ellaby with 12. He also has 5 assists and 5 rebounds as well. 10 points added by Jeff Pollard for the Cougars. We're almost back to action here. 14:09 left to go in the second. Oregon up by 4 now. A bunch of lead changes in the game. The last play, what happened? C.J. Ellaby of Washington State trying to take the ball inside to get stripped of the ball in the lane. And then the slam dunk by Lewis King. That was 2 possessions ago. And then the same thing, Washington State again tried to kick back the ball, and the ball hit the bottom of the net, and it was taken the other end by Oregon. And then King did it himself, laying it in. So he has 16 points, 6 for 7 from the field by Lewis King. He takes a seat on the bench right now with Oregon on a 10-2 run with 14 minutes left to go in the second. Washington State gets the inbounds. Robert Franks with the ball in his hands, passes it off to Robinson. Robinson dribbles towards the right side, past the three-point line as he's guarded by Victor Bailey Jr. Now in the game for King. Pass to Ellaby. Ellaby feeds the ball inside, and the layup behind him goes in the glass for Kunk. So he scores for Washington State, 48-46. Oregon with the ball, 13 and a half left. C.J. Ellaby gets his 6th assist of the game on that last play. As the ball's into the hands of Richardson at the right side, free throw line extended behind the arc as they're passing it towards the left side of the perimeter. Now it's into the hands of Amin. Amin dribbling at the free throw line, looking for Richardson now, taking it towards the left side baseline. He got rejected by Washington State, and Washington State has the ball. As the ball is taken past the timeline with Franks. So now they feed it outside. Right corner 3, no good. So the 3 ball from the right corner is no good. The tie up on the court. We'll go back to Washington State ball as we get a timeout here on the floor. And I'll update you guys with the game score. So timeout on the floor here, 48-46. Oregon up against Washington State with 12:57 left to go in the second. Yeah, a lot of lead changes so far in this game, and the shooting percentage number just keeps on creeping down for the Cougars, as well as they were at one point shooting the ball. I believe it was crazy. It was like 15 for 17 from the field, and now they're 20 for 31 shooting from the field. So that's only good for 64.5%, when early in this game, towards the end of the first half, they were shooting the ball at a solid 82%. So that number keeps on creeping down. But they're still in this game. However, the turnovers have definitely been a problem, though, for the Cougars. 9 turnovers compared to Oregon's 4. Oregon also has 5 steals as well. They have 2 blocks in there. The rebounding department almost even. Washington State out rebounding Oregon right now, 17-15. The defensive rebounds are going to Washington State, up 15-10 in that category, but offensive boards, Oregon winning in that category, 5-2. As this is the last basketball game of the day for college basketball, and then we got more hoops tomorrow or so, and then I'll be back streaming on Tuesday, 7 p.m. That is the Kansas Jayhawks will be taking on the Texas Longhorns in that one. So 7 p.m. I'll be back streaming as, yeah, we got a pretty good game out here in Oregon at Matthew Knight Arena. As we're on this break, we look to Washington State and their best win. It came all the way against the team from the Metro Atlantic Conference. So their best win against a net ranking team was against the Ryder Bronx. Early in non-conference play, they beat them 94-80. But other than that, they only have 1 win in the conference against California. Their team hasn't been that healthy. A lot of guys have been missing games. But when Robert Franks is able to play, when they have their full team together with Franks in the lineup, he could do damage. And definitely it's shown today. So second half shooting, Washington State shot around 78% from the floor in the first half. Now they're only shooting 33% from the second half. Oregon shooting the ball 46% in the second half. Washington State gets the inbounds pass with 12:36 left to go into the hands of Franks now with 5 on the shot clock. Passes the ball off, top of the .3 and no good by Washington State. Rebounded by Oregon. Here is Amin. He was trying to dribble inside, kicks the ball back outside. Now Amin with it again. Dribbling inside. He's stripped of the ball, but it's a foul called by the Cougars. Looks like number 1, Gervais Robinson, will be charged of that foul, picking up the second foul as a team in the second half by Washington State. So we got 12 minutes, 20 seconds left to go. In the second half, the ball thrown on the inbounds. In there to Kenny Wooten coming back off the bench. And Wooten is fouled. And he'll go to the line for 2 as he tried to go inside, take the shot there. As we look to these Oregon Ducks, Kenny Wooten will be going to the line for 2. They go all the way up to number 13 in the AP Top 25 before they dropped out for Oregon. Ball could be a top 10 draft pick in the NBA, but he suffered a foot injury in non-conference play, which caused him to miss the entire season. And this is the freshman Ball, 7'2" from Olathe, Kansas. So he's out on the bench today cheering on his team. And the first shot from the line was a miss, but the second one goes down for Wooten. So 1 for 2 from the line during that time. It's 49-46. Oregon is up with 12:08 left to go in the second. Washington State has the ball in their hands. Now this looks like it is Gervais Robinson with the ball for the Cougars. Dribbles the ball to the right side behind the three-point line, trying to look for somebody who's open. He does. It's Kunk at the top of the key. Throws the ball inside, and that one off the glass, and it goes in by Robert Franks of the Cougars. We got ourselves a 1-point game here. 49-48, 11:40 left to go in the second. Franks had 15 points in the first. He has second so far in the second, as this one is almost halfway done in the second half as the ball's passed inside. Jumper at the free throw line. No good by Lewis King. Rimmed out. Almost got the generous bounce off the backboard. Rebounded by the Cougars. And we have a stoppage in time here with 11:25 left to go in the second. Oregon up by 1. We got a timeout on the floor, and I'll update the chat here. Great game, close game here in Eugene. So this is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, and I'll be doing live play-by-play and reactions of college basketball games throughout the entire college basketball season. This is a good game tonight, close game as well. A bunch of lead changes as well in this game. Yeah, I was gonna look at both of these teams with they both of these teams suffered some real bad losses throughout the season, especially in non-conference play. Oregon, when they were ranked, they lost against Texas Southern. And that was back all the way back in December. That was with Ball when he was still playing in Oregon before he suffered the injury. That has to be one of the worst losses this season by a college basketball team to go down when Oregon lost to Texas Southern in that game. Texas Southern right now, I think they still have like a losing record. I think it's like 8-10 on the season for their record so far. So they lost to them this season in non-conference play. Everybody couldn't believe that. That was at home at Matthew Knight Arena as well, and it was a stunner. But Texas Southern is like a one of 5 teams in the nation that have like big wins against all three power conference teams. They beat Baylor as well. Baylor's on the bubble, and I think they beat Texas A&M out of the SEC as well, and they beat Oregon in there too. So 3 wins against power conference teams. There's 6 power conference teams, power conferences. There's so three wins against 3 of those teams from different power conferences. As Washington State, their worst loss on the season had to go against Montana State. They lost that game in Pullman at home, 95-90 against the 8-11 Montana State team. And Montana State's from the Big Sky Conference. As we're back to action, 11-18 left to go in this one. Oregon up by 1, and they get the inbounds pass. The Ducks now with Pritchard with the ball back to Lewis King at the top of the key. King trying to drive inside, kicks the ball back outside. Left corner 3, and a short by Amin. Offensive board by Kenny Wooten, and it goes up and in. And a foul as well as Oregon extends their lead 51-48. So Oregon squeaky clean in the second half. Haven't fouled anybody so far for the Ducks as Washington State picks up their 4th foul as a team in this game. Now to the line again is Wooten, and he hits it. 52-48, 11:05 left to go. As Washington State will inbound in the corner. The pass, and they turn it over in their own corner of the court. They passed it. And Oregon saw that, and they forced them into the double team where Washington State stepped out of bounds, and now Oregon gets the ball back. A crucial turnover by Washington State. So only 2 seconds went off the clock there. 11 minutes and 3 seconds left. Looks like Isaiah Wade checks out of the game for the Cougars. Pritchard will inbound, pass the ball here, trying to find somebody who's open. Feeds the ball to Wooten. Kicks the ball back outside to Richardson. And now they're passing the ball right side of the 3-point line and back to Richardson, who dribbles, kicks the ball outside, trying to dribble baseline with it's Amin, and he steps out of bounds for Oregon. So Ihab Amin turns the ball over himself. So 2 turnovers on the last 2 possessions. Washington State will get the ball back. 11 turnovers by the Cougars, 5 for the Ducks, and they are pushing the tempo now. This is Ellaby, kicks the ball outside, 3 ball, rimmed out, rebounded by Ellaby, and up and in. So the offensive board goes their way. For the shot outside, they missed it by Washington State, but Ellaby was there to put it back. 52-50. Ellaby has 14 points. He has 7 rebounds. As the ball gets into the hands of Amin, now passing it to Richardson, to Pritchard, and now low in the baseline to Wooten. Back to Pritchard, and the ball was last tapped out of bounds by Washington State, so Oregon will get it back here, 52-50 with 10:22 left to go in a second as we welcome you in. This is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, and I do live streams of my play-by-play live reaction to college basketball games throughout the season, all the way into the March Madness tournament. Washington State trying to seek their first game this season to win on the road. 3 ball hit by Oregon from the outside at the top of the key to make this game 55-50. Paul White with 14 points from the outside. As Ahmed Ali has the ball in his hands now On the right side behind the three-point line, passes it to the left side behind the three-point line, and now dribbling towards the center. And the jumper goes down. Another big jump shot by Robert Franks. 3-point game here in Oregon. 9:40 left to go. 55-52. Robert Franks is 19. Lewis King passes the ball. Now pass back out to Lewis King, who takes the three and hits it from the right wing outside. Nothing but net for the King. 58-52. 9:22 left to go in the second. Washington State with the ball. Oregon has its biggest lead of the night. As now they're at the left side behind the wing outside, and they pass the ball to the right side of the perimeter. With the ball now into the hands, Beyonce Daniels dribbling with it, and now back to Ellaby. Ellaby, the ball is stripped from him. Oregon with a steal, trying to go inside with Pritchard. He gets rejected by Beyonce Daniels with a crucial block by Washington State going up the other way. Ellaby gets blocked inside by Kenny Wooten, but the foul is called by Oregon with 8:53 left to go in the second. Kenny Wooten. So 2 blocks. There we go. On the replay, Ellaby gets the ball stolen. Pritchard tried to take it inside. He gets the shot blocked, tried to lay it in. Ellaby then going inside as Washington State gets possession. And Kenny Wooten right there with a huge swat as Ellaby goes to the line. 67% free throw shooter. He hits the first. 4-point game. 58-54. Or 58-53. Did they change the score on the scoreboard or no? As Oregon gets the rebound, 8:52 left. We'll check back on the score. We'll see if they made a mistake there. So Oregon gets the rebound. Peyton Pritchard with the ball in his hands. Passes it off to Will Richardson. Back to Pritchard. The right side, right corner now. And now to the left side behind the arc. Left corner behind the arc. This is Lewis King. Back to Richardson. He almost stumbled in. They called a tripping foul on Washington State, as it looks like it's on Ahmed Ali of the Cougars. So Oregon will get the ball back on the inbounds. Washington State just picked up their 5th foul as a team. Oregon has their 1st foul. So Oregon inbounds it, and it goes back to Will Richardson. Now with the ball, passes it off right side of the free throw line for Lewis King, and now they're passing it to the left side with its Pritchard. Back to Richardson at the top of the key. Richardson feeds the ball inside to Kenny Wooten, and he 2-hand slams it down. We got a 7-point game. Kenny Wooten has 14 tonight, 60-53. Washington State has the ball now, trying to work inside Ellaby, and there was a foul before the shot committed by Pritchard of Oregon. So Oregon picks up their 2nd foul as a team tonight with 8 minutes and 1 second left. Washington State has 5. So the Cougars will inbound it down by 7. Oregon has their largest lead of the night. They throw it to the top of the key with Ellaby. Passes it to the left elbow. And now back to Ellaby. And now takes the ball with it is Gervais Robinson dribbling with the ball from behind the arc towards the left side. Now at the top of the key with it. Passes it off to Ellaby. Left side behind the arc, dribbling to his right side. Now trying to go inside and lay it up and in. Floated it at the shot clock. Hit the rim before the violation, but the ball rimmed out by Gervais Robinson. Rebounded by Oregon now. Trying to take it inside to Will Richardson. Kicks it back outside, right side of the 3-point line where Pritchard is. And now back to Richardson. Passing the ball around the perimeter towards the right side with it. It's Paul White now kicks it back out to the left side. Lob over the top and up and in. Richardson lobs it over a group of Cougar defenders to Paul White. He puts it off the glass. Oregon with their largest lead of the night now at 9. 62-53 with 7 minutes and 4 seconds remaining, which leads to the Washington State timeout. Got a timeout on the floor. Washington State red hot in the first half shooting. Second half been different. 62-53. I'll update you guys in the chat with the score, but Oregon on a little bit of a run here at home in Eugene. This is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube. Feel free to like my video, share, and subscribe. Oregon doing a little bit of a runaway here from Washington State. As we look at this, so the Oregon Ducks shooting the ball at 52.2% shooting from the field right now compared to Washington State. They were around the high 70s shooting the ball when they went into halftime. Now that number has dropped to 62.2% from the field. As we look at some of these stats, both of the teams even on total assists with 16 right now, almost even with the rebounding department as well. 20 rebounds by the Cougars, 19 by the Ducks. As we look to the leading scorers for this game, Robert Franks has 19 points, leading Washington State. So far, then, you got C.J. Ellaby with 15. Both of those guys, the two leading scorers on the team anyway. 19 points by Franks, 15 by Ellaby so far today. And then Jeff Pollard in there with 10 points by the Cougars. As we look to the leading scorers for the Oregon Ducks in this one, as we're on this commercial break with 7:04 left to go in the second. But first, 7:04 left to go in the second, as Oregon's leading scorers here would be Lewis King with 19 points. He is 7 for 9 from the field in this game. Paul White with 16 points, second on the team in scoring right now. And then Kenny Wooten off the bench, he has 14. Look at these bench points for Oregon. We got 21 bench points for the Ducks right now. Kenny Wooten accountable for 14 of them with 3 rebounds as well. As we get back to action here, Oregon on a 10-3 run against Washington State. Oregon up by 9. The Cougars with the ball as they feed it inside of Franks, and he loses control of it, and there's 3 bodies on the ground. Peyton Pritchard looks like he'll control that as he was next to 2 Cougar defenders, as there was a bunch of bodies on the ground, and Pritchard does have control of it for the Ducks, and it will be an Oregon ball with 6:51 left to go in regulation. Another turnover by the Cougars. So we got a little bit of a cleanup crew here on the court trying to clean up some sweat here in the court, as now looks like we'll get back to action with Oregon inbounding it after the turnover. Second half shooting percentage, Washington State shooting 70% from the field in the second half. They turned over the ball 13 times compared to Oregon's 5, which has led to 16 points off turnovers for the Ducks. Only 6 points off of turnovers so far by Washington State. Oregon with the ball. This is Peyton Pritchard, feeds the ball off to Richardson. Back to Pritchard, top of the key, 3 from the point, and it's short off the rim by Pritchard. Rebounded by the Cougars. Down by 9 now for Washington State. 6:25 left to go in regulation. Gervais Robinson passes the ball off, and now it's to the right elbow with Franks, who passes the ball off, now dribbling around the top of the key of the perimeter. Gervais Robinson with it. Robinson kicks the ball out towards the right corner. 3 by Ellaby, no good, and rebounded by King of Oregon. 6 minutes left. Up by 9 for the Ducks. Richardson gets the ball in his hands, feeds Pritchard at the right corner. Back to Richardson. 5:50 left in regulation. Oh, Richardson almost threw that ball over the hand of Lewis King, but he gets control of it. King, a left wing 3, no good. Oh, offensive rebound by Paul White, and the putback with a right hand off the glass. Oregon with their largest lead of the night, 64-53. Paul White with a with 18 points, shooting 7 for 11 from the field. 5:26 left to go. Timeout called on the floor by the Cougars. That's the last timeout they have remaining by Ernie Kent's squad. They'll talk things over here. Or is it not just a stoppage in time? I'm not sure if Washington State did call a timeout there. It looks like they did. They did have the ball dribbling past the timeline. With it, no, they don't charge them with a timeout. So it's just a substitution there. Maybe an injury substitution as Ellaby is now out of the game and looks like he is walking back to the locker room. But Oregon now with the ball. So they don't charge him with a timeout. 5:05 left to go. Oregon shooting 8 for 23 from behind the arc. Washington State's 5 for 15. Into the hands of Pritchard. Left wing behind the arc. Feeds it off to the right wing behind the arc to Richardson. Left wing three. Pritchard short off the right there, short. And it's rebounded by Washington State as Peyton Pritchard couldn't get the three to hit. And right wing three, no good by the Cougars. Rebounded by Oregon. Ball's taken past the left side of the timeline by Pritchard as he bounce passes it off to Richardson for the Ducks. Back to the right side behind the three-point line for Pritchard. 64-53, Pritchard. Bounce passes it to Richardson, back to Pritchard. Pritchard back to Richardson, and Richardson trying to kick the ball, drive inside, kick the ball outside the King. Pritchard dribbling in the low post, and the assist to Kenny Wooten, who puts it home right there with a little jumper inside. 13-point game for Oregon, up 66-53 to steal. 2-on-1, fast break. Pritchard up and in for the Ducks. With a steal for Oregon, 68-53. Washington State getting real sloppy right now with 3:58 remaining in this game. Stoppage in time to talk some things over. Off the steal by Oregon. The Ducks have exploded in the second half here. I'll update the score for you guys, but it's been all Oregon on quite a bit of a run here. This is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube. Oregon right now just absolutely exploding in this game as they're trying to creep up on that Washington State shooting percentage. They might actually pass them when the game ends in this one. Oregon shooting 51.9% from the field right now compared to Washington State shooting 57.5% from the field. I remember early in the game, the first 15 minutes of the game, Washington State was shooting 82% from the field. As we look to other stats in the game so far, team rebounds pretty even. Oregon now with a lead in that, 23-22 over Washington State. 3-point percentage pretty even as well. Washington State shooting 31.3% from behind the arc. Oregon shooting 33% from behind the arc. The turnovers is what is killing the Cougars right now. They've turned over the ball 14 times. Oregon just keeps on getting numerous points off of turnovers in this game. Only 5 turnovers for the Ducks. As we're almost back to action here, we'll take a look at the team stats here with 3:58 to go in this game as Robert Franks is 19, leading the scoring right now for the Cougars, and then the leading scorer for Oregon is Lewis King with 19. Paul White close behind with 18. Kenny Wooten coming off the bench with 16 right now for the Ducks. As Tuesday night, 7 p.m., I'll have another live-by-play and reaction stream. That will be the Kansas Jayhawks inside the top 10 right now, playing against the Texas Longhorns. Should be a good one. 7 p.m. on Tuesday night. CJ Ellaby with 15 points tonight, 7 rebounds and 7 assists for Washington State as they inbound the ball. They're down with 3 minutes, 50 seconds left to go in regulation. 10-0 run for the Ducks in the last 3.5 minutes. Into the hands of Ellaby now for Washington State, and now he passes it Franks with a jumper at the free throw line, no good, but the offensive board goes up and in by number 5, Marvin Cannon. So Washington State down by 13, 3:26 left to go. Richardson passes the ball to King on the outside. King tried to feed the ball down low to Wooten, but the ball goes out of bounds. And a turnover for the Ducks. 3:21 left in regulation. Oregon just turned the ball over for their 6th time in the game. Washington State has 14 turnovers. The Cougars will get the inbounds pass, as Ellaby takes it past the timeline on the right side. Passes the ball off to Ali. Ali passes the ball off to the right wing, and now he gets the ball back, and now into the hands of Vontae Daniels, who throws the ball off to Cannon, now in the game off the bench. Ellaby passes the ball inside to Franks. Franks off the glass and in, but he gets called with a push-off, and the bucket won't count. It'll be an offensive foul by Robert Franks, and the ball will go back to Oregon. So Oregon gets the ball back on the inbounds pass. Will Richardson takes it past the Oregon logo, passes it off to Pritchard, back to Richardson, and back to Pritchard. Right corner 3 to Lewis King. Nothing but net from the outside with 2:40 left to go. Lewis King showing you the touch from the nylon. 4 for 6 tonight from behind the arc, and the ball almost stolen by Will Richardson. Washington State does get it past the timeline in time. And the block by Kenny Wooten, as Washington State, Marvin Cannon was trying to lay it up and in, and Wooten there with a swat. 2:20 left. 2 blocks tonight by Wooten. He averages 1 block per game. The ball fed inside to Wooten, and he scores. 73-55, Oregon taking control of this game. Kenny Wooten with 18 points. Washington State gets the ball past the right side of the timeline. Now they try to feed the ball inside. It is to Franks, and Wooten swats it away, but Ellaby gets the ball back, but Richardson in there to get the defensive board when Ellaby was too strong off the glass, trying to go baseline with his King. He gets rejected by Franks. Oh, Wooten tried to go for the one-handed slam. Big air there. He couldn't get it, but he's fouled on the play. He missed the slam dunk, but Franks gets called with a foul. We look at the play a moment ago, and Franks tried to drive inside. Kenny Wooten got his 3rd block of the game, and then Wooten right here tried to go big air over the top, over Franks, but Franks gets charged with a foul. Kenny Wooten will go to the line with 1:41 left to go. So they try to extend their lead. Wooten, he's good. From the line, 74-55, Oregon running away in this game in the second half. 73% from the free throw line. The Ducks trying to get back into the March Madness picture. This will be a step forward in the right direction. Up by 20. They take on Utah in their next game in the Utes at 9 p.m. on Thursday. 17-2 run in the last 8 minutes, 20 seconds for the Ducks. Washington State down by 20 and 1:20 left to go. Moving the ball around the perimeter as they know that they're losing this game, but trying to get something to sink before this game goes over. And Oregon steals the ball, trying to add some more points. Behind the back pass by Will Richardson to Amin, but they cannot convert as Amin lost the dribble with his hands and it hit Richardson as Richardson was standing out of bounds, and Oregon will turn the ball over, but the damage has been done in this game. 1:07 left in regulation. Washington State pulled out to an early lead in this one throughout the first half. They were up 39-35 at the half, but everything has been Oregon ever since, outscoring them big time in the second half. 1 minute to go, up by 20 for the Ducks. The 3 ball goes down for the Cougars from the outside, the right wing 3. 75-58, Oregon will improve to 12-8 and 3-4 in Pac-12 play. This is not done yet for the Ducks, as if they need to get an at-large bid, they need to basically win out in the conference. 3-ball from the outside. They sink it for Oregon with 40 seconds left. 78-58. Victor Bailey Jr. gets his 6th point of the night. 2 for 3 from the outside today for Bailey. 33 seconds left for Washington State, and this game is about done, as another turnover by the Cougars. The steal by Pritchard, but instead of just taking it to the net, he'll just slow it down, and we got ourselves a ball game. No time left on the shot clock. Game clock at 14 seconds. Oregon will win this game by 20. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, as both of the coaches meet now at center court. Handshaking as this one has gone final. The Oregon Ducks beat the Washington State Cougars 78-58. Oregon exploding in this one in the second half. I'll update you guys in the chat with the score here, but all Ducks in that second half. We'll go over the box score, and then we'll wrap it up here on Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube. It's been a pleasure to have you guys join in tonight, as Oregon ran away with that one, completely destroyed Washington State in the second half. This one is gone final. 78-58. Oregon wins this game. So we'll look to the team stats first as well, and we'll see. Wow, Oregon outscoring Washington State in the second half 43-19. As Washington State, they were up at halftime 39-35, but everything going the Ducks' way in that second half. We'll look to these team stats, and yeah, I was saying a couple minutes ago that Oregon would be the one to draw closer and possibly pass Washington State's shooting percentage for the game. Washington State started out red hot. They were sinking everything from the court early on in this game. They were 82% from the field with 3 minutes left to go in the first half. And I think they ended up first half shooting was like 78% from the field. Well, that number for Washington State, the final number, dropped to 54.3% shooting from the field. But Oregon hitting on all their shots in the second half, basically 54.5% from the field, shooting 0.20% better than Washington State in this one. And the 3-ball also going down a better percentage for Oregon in this game as well. 38.5% from the field, shooting the 3-pointer for Oregon, whereas Washington State was 35.3% from the field. Oregon 8 for 10 from the charity stripe in this one, compared to Washington State, who is 2 for 4 from the free throw line. In this game, we'll see the rebounds basically even, 25-24. Oregon out rebounding Washington State in this one. This game is gone final 78-58. Oregon exploding with that 43-19 second half advantage to pull ahead and beat the Cougars by 20. But throughout this game, there was a lot of lead changes going on, especially in the first half and then early on in the second half, but Oregon just exploding. We'll look at a team box score here for the leaders for tonight, as Robert Franks led the Cougars with 19 points, and then C.J. Ellaby at 15. Both of those guys slowed down drastically in the second half. Jeff Pollard with 10 points. He was out early in this game. He had, I think, 8 points in like the first 10 minutes of this game. His season average is around 4 points per game, but he scored the first 8 points in like the first 10 minutes of the game, and he was held to only 10 total. As we look to the Oregon Ducks, and their leading scorers, in another big night for Lewis King, leading the team with 22 points on the night, 5 rebounds as well, and he got a steal with 2 assists for Lewis King, and 3 guys in there with double-digit points. Kenny Wooten coming off the bench with 20 on the night. He had 4 rebounds as well, 3 blocks to add to his name tonight as well. Oregon had 30 points in total coming off the bench tonight. And then Paul White, he had 18 points on the night. He had an assist, and also he added 6 rebounds total for Paul White. And Peyton Pritchard led the team in assists with 8 assists tonight. Pritchard with 6 steals as well, as the turnover game for Washington State is what plagued them. As Washington State turned over the ball in this game 17 times compared to Oregon. They turned over the ball 7 times in this one, but this is final. Oregon and the Ducks improving on the season to 12-8 overall, 3-4 in Pac-12 play, and the Washington State Cougars fall to 8-12 overall in the season and 1-6 in Pac-12 play. Washington State is yet to win an away game this season, and they're now currently on a 3-game losing streak. Oregon starting off another winning streak of their own. Oregon will be back on Thursday, 9 p.m. That game, 9 p.m. Eastern time, that game is against Utah. They'll take on the Utes, who currently sit at 11-8, 5-2. Overall, Washington State, with their next 2 games, they'll be home on Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern time, so late tip for the East Coast there against UCLA. UCLA sitting at 11-9 right now, but UCLA defeated Arizona on Saturday, 90-69. So the next game on Wednesday for Washington State, and then they'll be back home on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time tip-off there against USC. USC 12-8 overall, but this one gone final. Oregon Ducks exploding in the second half in this game, winning by 20 out at home at the Matthew Knight Arena, 78-58 Oregon. This one the final. This is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, and feel free to like my videos, subscribe to my channel, and spread the word. The next time I'll be streaming live play-by-play and reaction will be Tuesday night, 7 p.m. as the Kansas Jayhawks take on the Texas Longhorns. That will be Big 12 action for you guys. But signing off, this is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube. Have a nice night, everyone, and happy night as the weekend winds down to a close. Happy Monday as well, as tomorrow will be Monday. This is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube.